What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the FCP Euro YouTube channel. I'm Eli. I'm a marketing analyst here, a prior SQ5 owner, and a current C7.5 S6 owner. And today, we're going to be talking about everything you need to know to look into buying a Q5. The Audi Q5 was introduced in Europe in 2008 and the United States in 2009. It's part of Audi's B chassis of cars built from 2009 to 2017. The Q5 was built on Audi's super modular MLB chassis, which also was underneath the A4, the A5, the A6, the A7, and the A8. It was Audi's first entry into the crossover market and their second entry into the SUV market, being preceded by the Q7. In 2014, the Q5 actually won US News' award for Best Luxury Compact SUV for Families, proving how successful the Q5 was. When talking about the Q5, it can be broken down into three different classes. You have the 2-liter turbo, which can be had in both gasoline and hybrid variants, depending on the year. There's the 3-liter supercharged motor, the 3-liter turbo diesel in the Q5, and the original 3.2-liter V6. And then the SQ5 also comes with a supercharged V6 in the US or a turbo diesel over in Europe. For this buyer's guide's sake, we're going to be talking about US models. Officially, the Audi chassis code is 8R for this specific generation. However, you'll often hear it referred to as B8 or B8.5 because of the common similarities between the A4 and the A5 that were actually under the B8 and B8.5 chassis codes. Audi doesn't report actual models sold as far as Q and SQ5 broken down. However, we do know they sold just about 2 million Q5 variants from 2009 to 2017. Competitors for the Q5 include the BMW X3, the Volvo XC60, the Acura RDX, and the Mercedes-Benz GLK 250 and 350. Because of the long production time frame, the Q5 pricing in the used car market actually varies pretty significantly. They can be had for as low as $7,000 to $8,000 for a 2009 or 2010 V6 model, all the way up to $40,000 to $45,000 for a low mileage used 2017 SQ5. Audi introduced the Q5 in 2009, and in 2009 and 2010, they only were available with the 3.2-liter V6 and the 6-speed Tiptronic transmission. However, in 2011, Audi switched it up and introduced the 2-liter turbo variant with the 8-speed ZF transmission. From this point forward, every model variant is going to be coming with the ZF 8-speed, so just assume it has that as I mentioned these next coming models. The 2-liter turbo was actually about a half-second slower to 60 miles an hour, but what you gave up in acceleration, you gained in fuel economy. And so, in 2012, Audi maintained that 2-liter turbo option when they facelifted it and moved into the B8.5 category. Along with that, in 2012, they introduced the 3-liter supercharged V6 and did away with the 3.2-liter naturally aspirated V6. In 2013, late in the model year, so technically 2014, Audi introduced the SQ5 in the US market, which was essentially a 3-liter Q5 with a couple other changes that we'll touch on later. From there, they also introduced the hybrid and the diesel variants for various years. Now, when looking at the differences between the B8 and the B8.5, or the pre-facelift and post-facelift Q5, there are a number of changes. Audi changed various things on the exterior of the car, including the exterior lighting. You can see the brown B8 behind me and the blue B8.5 behind me have different headlights. They also did slightly different bumpers on the cars. They switched from hydraulic to electromechanical steering. There are slight interior upgrades, including a different MMI system and the availability of Google Maps. And the Tiptronic transmission was no longer available in the 8.5, as we stated previously. Now, when comparing the Q5 to the SQ5, there are slight exterior differences, including a different rear bumper to accommodate the quad exhaust instead of the standard dual exhaust, and different changes on the interior, including upgraded sports seats. The brakes are significantly larger on the SQ5 than the Q5 model, up from 320 or 345 to 380 millimeters, and there's also a different engine tune in the SQ5. While it is the same V6 supercharged engine as the Q5, the SQ5 has a little bit more horsepower under the hood, as well as a slightly shorter final drive ratio for that ZF 8-speed, which ultimately drops the 0 to 60 time from 5.8 seconds for the 3-liter supercharged Q5 to 4.4 seconds for the 3-liter supercharged SQ5. The Q5 and the SQ5 can be had in various trim levels, including Premium, Premium Plus, and Prestige. However, you need to be careful when choosing trim levels exclusively because there's the potential for a Premium Plus to actually have more options than a Prestige car has. It's important to either ask for a window sticker and look at the actual options that the car has, or contact Audi of America and ask them what options the car has, just to make sure that you know you're getting into the right car. No enhanced driver assistance options are standard. However, there are options for a rear view camera, adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, and parking sensors on the Q5. There's also the popular black optics package, which neither of the cars behind me have, but it does black out the grille trim as well as the window trim from the standard silver into a black trim. And a must-have option for me was the Bang & Olufsen sound system, which is an option on these cars. It sounds absolutely spectacular. When I was shopping for my SQ5, it was something that I was looking for sure. Now, before we get into the engine, transmission, brakes, and all the flaws that come associated with those, it is important to talk about the most fatal flaw that comes with the Q5, and that is sunroof rattle. While this won't cause any damage to the car, it won't cause any issues getting to your destination, what it will do is bother you all the time. Audi has a TSB out on this, which has various fixes, including greasing the rails. There's a couple foam inserts that you can put in there. The only fix that really seems to work for this is replacing the entire sunroof frame. Now you're saying, FCP Euro, why don't you have a DIY for this job? Well, you need to drop the entire headliner, you need to take the sunroof frame out, you need to take the sunroof shade out, and candidly, it's a very, very, very labor-intensive job. Now, the only way to get this properly fixed, as I said, is to replace sunroof frames. However, I had the sunroof frame replaced on my SQ5, and the new frame that went in immediately started rattling. So it's important when you get the car back from the dealer or whoever does the job to take it for a quick ride, and if that new frame is rattling, bring it right on back and have them replace it again until they get a sunroof frame that doesn't rattle. It's possible, they're out there, but if you're gonna test drive a Q5 or an SQ5, you wanna make sure that there's a period of time that you have the radio off, no noise in the car, and just listen to the sunroof, make sure it's not rattling over bumps because it will drive you nuts in the future. Now let's talk about the engines that are available for the Q5, starting out with the original 3.2 liter V6. That engine came with 270 horsepower and 243 pound-feet of torque from the factory and delivered 18 miles per gallon city and 23 miles per gallon highway. Common issues for that engine include thermostat, water pump, spark plugs, and coil packs. Next, we'll talk about the 2-liter 4-cylinder that came in the Q5 from 2011 to 2017. These 3 engine codes for this, the CAEB, the CPMA, and the CPMB. It's worth noted that the CPMA and the CPMB both are flex fuel engines and come with the metal intake manifolds. The motor itself makes 211 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, and it delivers 20 miles per gallon city and 27 miles per gallon highway. Now, there are an abundance of issues that come with the 2-liter turbo, so it is essential that you have a pre-purchase inspection done, including a compression test, and make sure that you're taken care of on the 2-liter front because they have water pump issues, they have timing chain tensioner issues, which will cost you a motor, they have oil consumption issues, they have engine mount issues, and they have carbon buildup issues. Next, we'll talk about the 2-liter hybrid variation, which was only available from 2013 to 2016. This is the CHJA engine code, and it came with 245 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque, thanks to the electric motor. This engine delivers 24 miles per gallon city and 30 miles per gallon highway, and it comes with the same common issues that came with the 2-liter inline turbo 4 as well. Next, we'll talk about the 3-liter turbo diesel variant that was available from 2014 to 2016. It was the engine code CPNB, and it came with 240 horsepower and 428 pound-feet of torque. It is worth noting that these model years were part of the Volkswagen's Dieselgate emissions scandal, which means Volkswagen was cheating on emissions with the diesel motors. And as a result, a majority of these Q5s that are on the market right now come with Volkswagen's extended TDI warranty, I guess you would call it, where they brought the cars in, they fixed the emissions issue, they down-tuned them slightly, and then they return them back to consumers with an extended warranty. If you can find one of these and it does have the extended warranty, it's a great buy. Common issues on these motors include intake manifold flaps and injectors. Next, we'll talk about the 3-liter supercharged V6 that came in the Q5 from 2013 to 2017. This motor's engine code was CTUC, and it delivered 272 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. This motor delivered 18 miles per gallon city, 26 highway, and common issues include motor mounts, thermostat, water pump, breather valve, and carbon buildup. Closely related to that is the CTUD supercharged V6, which can be found in the SQ5. That motor has 354 horsepower and 347 pound-feet of torque from the factory. It delivers 17 miles per gallon city and 24 miles per gallon highway, and has similar issues because it's basically the same motor as the 3-liter supercharged motor found in the Q5. As far as transmissions goes, there's only 2 options. If you have the 3.2-liter V6 in your car, you have the 6-speed Tiptronic transmission, and if you have any other motor from the Q5 lineup, you have the absolutely spectacular 8-speed transmission from ZF. There is a reason that this transmission has found its way into almost every Audi car out there. It's because it's an awesome transmission. Both transmissions come with lifetime fluids, and while you can change them, Audi doesn't require it. The Q5 and the SQ5 both come with Audi's traditional mechanical quattro system, which means it's a very robust all-wheel drive system. However, you do want to keep an eye on your driveshaft carrier bearings, your output seal flanges, your CV boots, and of course, your upper and lower control arms. This is an MLB chassis and they love to eat control arms. The chassis itself is multi-link front and rear. It has a ton of aluminum components and it is very stiff. However, it still leans towards understeer when pushed. It's a great combination of luxury and performance, and as far as maintenance goes, there's no major issues other than the control arms we already mentioned, and potentially the pinch bolts that Aaron had a fantastic time with.
This job is very straightforward, although it does depend if that upper pinch bolt comes out. The upper pinch bolt comes out. It's not gonna go. It's not gonna move.
There is an abundance of aftermarket support for the Q5 and the SQ5. As you can see from the cars behind me, there are lowering springs, coilovers, different grills, different exhausts that you can swap out, as well as a very tunable engine. Some of the fastest SQ5s have gone as quick as 11.0 at 120 plus in the quarter mile. So a ton of options available for this. One thing to think of when you're lowering the car is that there's no front camber adjustment. So when you lower these cars, the front camber becomes even more drastic than the A4 or the S4 because of the longer suspension travel. So you just want to be careful and watch your front tires, make sure that you're not wearing through the tires prematurely there. Now when it comes to brakes, there are a lot of variances across models, so bear with me here. For the V6 model, the 3.2 liter V6, that was only available with a single piston caliper and 320 millimeter rotors in the front. For the 2 liter turbo from 2011 to 2012, that came with the same brakes, the single piston caliper and the 320 millimeter rotor. When you step up to the 2013 through the 2017 2 liter, that moves to a 4 piston caliper, but still on a 320 millimeter rotor. Moving into the hybrid, the 3 liter diesel and the 3 liter supercharged in the non-SQ5, all of those come with a 345 millimeter rotor with a 4 piston caliper. And then finally, on the SQ5, Audi stepped all the way up to a 380 millimeter rotor, but that again only comes with a single piston large caliper. Overall, the Q5 and the SQ5 are really great all-around cars, and I think one of the hidden gems in the Audi lineup that's often overlooked. As far as fitting a car seat goes in the car, we fit a rear-facing seat in the rear seat no problem. It just took a little bit of finagling with the front seat and a little bit of giving up of the front passenger legroom. But once that rear-facing seat turned forward-facing, we had no issue with front legroom and the car seat fit great. It's very spacious as far as that goes, and the panoramic sunroof is a great benefit for a little one in the back seat. There's plenty of space in the trunk, but it's mostly vertical space. The trunk itself is not very deep. Overall, just a really great, well-rounded car and an awesome option if you're shopping for one on the aftermarket. If I personally was looking for one today, I'd look into the 3 liter supercharged option as well as the 3 liter diesel option, or if you're looking for a little more sporty experience, the SQ5 is a great alternative as well. If you guys have any questions or if you think there's anything that we missed in this video, make sure to leave them down in the comments below and our team will get right back to you or offer clarification on any confusion. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, the like button. We have plenty more Q5 content coming in the future, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.